content shared in this YouTube video, as well as any resources linked below, is not intended to be interpreted or relied upon as financial advice. We are not lawyers, accountants, or financial advisors, nor do we claim to be. The information provided is not a replacement for personalized financial advice from a qualified professional who understands the specific details of your situation. While we strive to ensure the accuracy and value of the information shared on this channel and through associated resources, it should not be considered a recommendation to avoid consulting with a financial professional. Always seek guidance from a trusted expert to address your unique circumstances. Somebody check my pulse. I'm just about ready to raid. Somebody check my pulse. I'm just about ready to raid. When I come through, better believe it's major. Slicing through the haters like I'm a lightsaber. Don't be confused, my people know I put in labor. Up and to the right, every candle I will savor. Y'all can censor me, I am the resistance. Put my talents to good use while being persistent. If only you saw my vision, you would be lifted. Many people will be saved, freedom is minted. Somebody check.
Beautiful hat, beautiful hat. Hey you guys, I'm here in Las Vegas at the Reserve Golf Course. Pulse Masters, we're just doing our thing. Beautiful, you can see the Vegas Strip in the background. We're gonna have a good time. I'm representing Team Hex. Hey you guys, welcome into the shit show. Here it is, Wednesday, and we are episode 78. We're excited to have Agent J in the house, be talking about TA and charts. I understand that there's been some volatility to the upside, to the downside, all that kind of good stuff within in the entire blockchain, but also within Pulsechain. I mean, we saw the likes of pumped out tires come in, and a lot of the core tokens just went drop down. There's a number of other tokens that have suffered, just due to the fact that sometimes when other things go up, other things go down. So I'm excited to have him in the house. I'm also excited to have V.I.C and Crypto in the house. I'm going to go ahead and pull these guys up. Let's talk about it.
Bang, bang.
Agent J.
How's it going, fellas? Thank you for having me.
No, thank you, man. We've definitely kept an eye on what you guys do over at the Degen Round Table, the book club, the cooking, just the continuous efforts to put forth your best feat in regards to just providing value for the entire ecosystem. And we appreciate it, man.
Thank you. Well, it's, I think I can speak on behalf of the team when I say that one of the primary goals of Degen Round Table was something that actually a lot of our shared mentors. So a lot of us on the team have a shared mentors, right? You might be familiar with Charlie and Miguel from Cultivate Crypto and Dollar Cost Crypto. And one of the things that they taught us when we were taking their courses is, once you've gotten your sea legs under you, right, and you're moving forward in the space, the best thing that you could do, for us and for the rest of the community is to pay it forward. And that's kind of one of the founding, ethos of the Degen Roundtables, to pay it forward, right? Whether that's a community that you could rely on, the technical analysis, the, fundamental analysis, the economic analysis, or just, a book club like Whiskey Wednesday where we shoot the shit, or in, the book club where Zenith and Will did recently that they're cooking, right? It's a community that not only that you can lean on for crypto related topics, but it's, it's somewhere to certainly belong, right? Because I think that, it wouldn't be an understatement to say that us in crypto, even though there's all of this mass adoption going on now throughout the world, and especially here in the West, in the United States, that we're still a pretty niche space. Right, we're kind of the underdogs, and so it's nice to have a community where you feel like you belong and you're not so damn alone.
Oh, completely, man. And you bring up a good point. Shout out Dollar Cost Crypto. and the entire team over there. But you bring up a great point in regards to do the things that fit you and your individual, purpose. You know what I mean? Because once, like you said, once you get their sea legs underneath you, what can you do to move that conviction of what you believe in crypto to be? You know what I mean? And that's DeFi, and your ability to, whether that's going to in life real meetups or not. And oftentimes it's not everyone's prerogative to go do those things. Oftentimes it's not to maybe get online and do what we're doing right here as far as showing our face. But you have the Sandy Beaches of the world who doesn't show her face, but she's everywhere. You know what I mean? And she's doing what she knows how to do. Shout out Sandy Beach. And there's a lot of other community members that do certain things just like that, where they put forth the effort to just continue to grow the space, and it's just done in their way. And you bring a certain you bring a certain aspect of things where you have an in-depth knowledge of TA and charts, and so you bring that to the table. And a lot of people really hunger for that. You know what I mean? And we appreciate that. You know what I mean? I love seeing the perspectives of that kind of deep insight, like when Axis talks about things and he brings that to the table, and you go, dang, that's what people really do enjoy. And then there's the other aspects of it where, like, you have Hexo, yeah, he does some TA, but really his thing is, I'm going to bring a little bit of personality to the table. That's what I'm good at. You know what I mean? And Hexo does a good job of that. So thank you for coming in here. I'm sure you've been aware that Pump.Tires entered the room, and it created some volatility within the space. But I do think eyeballs are being looked upon Pulsechain a little bit more closely. And I think the 5D chess by Richard Hart is in action. I'm excited about the fact that he's making moves. And when he's making moves, I think it's because he's looking to make a bigger move here.
Yeah. One of the, so I'm sure you have spoken about this, but early this morning, one of our community members kind of floated this idea that if Richard Hart was going to release Pump.Tires, and like, we don't know if he's the one behind it, right? If he's the one that deployed the thing, he just kind of shared it on his X page. But if he was going to do something like that, it couldn't have happened at a better moment in time. And what I mean by that is when you have the power, the popular Joe Biden himself, over to Donald J. Trump, and then Gary Gensler's out the door, and we have an SEC that's a little bit more crypto forward. Right? At the very minimum, they're more receptive to creating, clear, concise, and fair regulation for the space, as opposed to the other guy who just kept trying to fit square pegs into round holes that fit the Howey test on every single crypto asset that ever came into existence. So I think definitely a planned move by Richard. So I'm happy to see it. I'm happy to see it. I'm sure we'll talk about Pump.Tires. I have my thought on Pump.Tires, but it's my initial thoughts on it.
Yeah, no, and you bring up a great point. Like I talked, like we were talking in the green room about, like, just the lack of regulation and how that puts you in such a obscure and weird position as far as holding crypto, because it's almost like you said, it's like driving down the road and just getting pulled over because they say that you're committing a crime, yet they can't even tell you what crime you committed. And so it's like, oh, well, at least give me some boundaries, so I can operate in a healthy manner. If I need to slow down, I'll slow down. If I can speed up, then I'm going to speed up, because I wouldn't want to get pulled over for going too slow too. So that being said, Richard's timing things, his timing is really impeccable. And I think that this is just like an added layer in which, like, come on, you guys, I believe that PulseX probably has more bells and whistles to it. And I'd imagine that at some point he's going to just release those bells and whistles.
Yeah.
And it's exciting times, you know what I mean? Like, there was obviously a big drop in Ethereum, and like you said, he timed that just perfectly too, because a lot of people could have gone to other chains, and he kept everyone in house with his Pump.Tires,
It's a smart thing to do. Look, I know a lot of folks over in the Pulsechain community are purists, right? They don't want this ecosystem to be tainted by the likes of meme coins, right? But what I always try to communicate to people is that, look, yes, we have a good foundation here, But the unfortunate reality is we have to convince other people, right? We have to capture that market share of attention, because we can sing our praises to Pulsechain and to Richard at the very top of the mountain. But if nobody believes that we're selling the best product, or nobody believes what we believe, right? We can't get to the attention, then nobody's going to buy in. I always like to use the example. Do you guys remember the Zune by Microsoft?
It sounds very familiar.
It was their attempt at bringing out a competitor to the iPod.
Okay, right? Yeah. Okay, and now I remember it. Yeah, right? Yeah.
Right, you could make a technical argument, right? Because I mean, Android and iPhone users have this debate all the time, right? That Android technically superior in terms of specs to the iPhone. Like you could try and convince people that you have the best thing since sliced bread. But if nobody's buying, even if you do objectively have the best thing in the world, then none of it matters, does it? Right? Because nobody else thinks so. And so I think one of the reasons why I like meme coins and I like pump.tires, and there are certain individuals that are very controversial in the space. Like I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Tang Gang, and Too Spooky, those guys, right? They got a lot of flack because of their insistence on meme coins. But I'm like, gang, remember, meme coins command the attention of this space, like a significant amount of the space, right? Look what it's done for Solana. You could argue that Solana, it came back from the grave because of Bonk, because of the influx of meme coins that Pump Fun brought to the space, right? You could make an argument that that's what kept them floating.
It wasn't because of their 100% uptime, that's for sure.
That's so true,
right? And I think like Richard is an astute marketer as well, right? He knows that attention is fantastic, which is why he did the outrage marketing, right? Even though that might not have endeared him to a lot of the space, he knew that it would catch people's attention. And that's kind of the message that I try to hammer home with people, right? It's about capturing attention. Bring them in with the shiny objects, make them stay with the fundamentals of Pulsechain.
Yep. No, and I think I was listening to a stream yesterday, and we all know Crispy Man, and he kind of summed it up in a way, because we all kind of know he's kind of a hex only kind of guy, obviously. But he says, this whole pumped out tires thing, I don't think Richard was speaking to me in this regards. And we know, if you guys have been around long enough, what I'm trying to say is, if you know the character of Richard, you know that he is going to preach, time in the market, not timing the market. He's going to preach, long thinking, as far as like staking and just doing all those kinds of things. But he's also, like you said, a marketer, and he understands that, like, by getting the people here, and when he does come back and stream, or I don't want to say disciples, but when the people of the ecosystem decide to say, hey, check out some of these videos from Richard Hart back in the day, and here are some of the fundamentals that he taught. And so in that case, they came, we always say it over here, they came for the memes and they stayed for the DeFi. I mean, shoot,
that's it.
You know what I mean? I mean, we created a freaking meme about Richard Hart, and the whole ethos was, yes, we believe that we can make crypto fun again, and we can obviously provide value, but we always say Hex is the GOAT, you guys. You know what I mean? Don't get out of your core tokens, Pulsechain, PulseX. We'll even throw Ink in there if you want, but really Ink is something that I think Richard's going to use to, again, attract more people to come provide liquidity.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's a very good point by Crispy Man, right? Because I'm a core maxi, right?
Yeah.
I have majority of my portfolios in Hex, and then PulseX and Pulsechain are, I just hold them because why not hold them, right? But I'm a Hex maxi at heart, right? And so your Crispy Man is correct. I don't think Richard was talking to me when he released Pump That Tires. He was talking to the people who would be attracted to that kind of stuff. I think people, I don't know, maybe it's the new people, or maybe folks have just forgotten that. Remember, Richard made his fortune as a salesman, right? He was an entrepreneur. So he had a lot of money before crypto, and so he knows just exactly how powerful marketing can be and how powerful attention, because attention is a currency, right? How powerful that currency can be when it comes to selling your products. So like, I agree with Crispy Man 100%.
Who are you going to convert if there's no one here to convert? And I hate to use the word convert, but like how are you going to convert someone into Hex if they're just not even here? So you gotta get them here. And so once they're here, Go ahead and do your degen, and then sure enough, they'll be like, man, these hexagons are really kind of unique and odd, and kind of like actually thinking about life 15 years down the road. They're thinking about like life and longevity and wealth accumulation for their family, and they're thinking beyond just today. They're thinking more than just beyond this week and what goes up. They're and so that's how you start reeling them into more abundant thinking.
Absolutely. Right. And as a maxi, right, as a core maxi, I always tell people, look, you're welcome to play, right? You can do what you want with your money. You're welcome to play in the meme space, but at the end of the day, your goal should probably, at least my goal is, right, or would be if I engaged in that kind of degenerate behavior, was to rotate those profits back into your core assets. Right.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. With that being said, I want to pull up just a couple things. I think you brought up a good point earlier today, Bets. I'm going to pull it up, and then you can pull up some charts there, Agent J. But what I wanted to pull up was our man Bretep, the dev of Pulsechain, brought out some good points today. So I'm gonna pull that up real quick. Let's see here. But Bretep here, the man, the myth. There we go, Bretep. He came down here. Let's see here, Bretep. See if I can pull it up here. Anyways, he was just showing. He doesn't really typically do this, but he posted a couple of things as far as stat pages. So I'll show the Pulse coin list. Let's see here if I can pull that up there. Obviously, he even put pump.tires in there. So that's pretty conservative. He's a conservative dude. Let me pull up that one. The one that I like there is the share screen. This guy right here. I don't know if you guys ever really mess around on pulsecoinlist.com, but it's pretty clean. I like the site. A lot of great input there. So I would encourage people. I'll put it in the chat if you guys want to go check it out. It's definitely a nice little one-stop shopper for checking out the entire ecosystem. Yeah.
I love it. It's like the CoinGecko or the Coin Market Cap, but exclusively for Pulsechain assets.
Yeah, because that Coin Market Cap is not going to be very friendly of Pulsechain, at least not yet, and they haven't proven to be at all.
They are not a friend. No, indeed. No, indeed. So, but yeah, to your point though, like we're seeing, all the cheating, right? Like the Sea of Red was I mean, honestly, I think it's a test by RH. We always say 5D, 9D chess, what have you. But man, liquor, leverage, woman, casino, betting. It could be a test, all those hours of content, don't pick up pennies in front of freight trains, all that stuff. Like, ooh, boy, if he sent it right now, man, so many people.
I know.
He's like, oh shit.
That's exactly what I kind of thought might happen. I was kind of wondering, like, man, if the tides shifted and everyone's all, ooh, look at the carnival, let's go play in it. And then he's like, Pulsechain, PulseX, Hex, Inc. Later, send it later. See ya.
Yeah, I'd agree with Vets, man. I think a lot of this has been a test. I am a very firm believer that some lessons have to be learned. Like you have to crash and burn. Sometimes you have to tear the envelope, not just push it, right? Sometimes you got to fall off the cliff, hit rock bottom, and realize, wow, there's really sucks down here. Don't ever want to be here ever again, right? And I think a lot of people, especially new onboards, right? It's their first cycle. They don't have their sea legs underneath yet. They haven't really consumed the content from Richard Hart in the same way that they haven't bought into the story yet, right? And I think for a lot of them, they have to learn the lesson the hard way, right? You have to get rugged after a few meme coins before realizing, you know what, man, at the end of the day, you have to stay in the core assets. Otherwise, you're like, if you're not a day trader and you're acting like a day trader, the end result is you're inevitably going to get rugged left and right, because 99.99% of these projects do go to zero. So I think it is a test, and I think it is a lesson that most people do have to learn, right? And better learn it now when prices are low rather than rather than we're at new
Right.
all-time highs. That's a much more painful lesson to learn.
It is. And we all, I'm sure we all, like I know John Boy and I do have our battle scars, whether it's a simple thing of sending shit to a contract address or what have you, or that one deal that just sounded too good to be true. And it was, hey, send me X tokens and I'll double it back and send it right back to you, like or just some stupid shit, right? Like throughout the years and the decade, like it's, so, even as the market continues and retail's not here yet, we see the same money sloshing around from one shiny thing to the next shiny thing. But just the repetitiveness of reminding the new retail of security, safety, don't be stupid, just simple things. Bookmark, once you find a legit site, bookmark it. Double check, triple check your links, your contract addresses, hardware wallets, the easy number one thing, all that simple stuff, right? Like most people, we got it, but it can never hurt to reiterate it, buy it directly from the manufacturer, not from Amazon or eBay. Like, God, like just all those little things. It's just,
one of the things that I wish people knew more about that most people probably don't know is that when you do a transaction, for example, on MetaMask, right, you could save the contract address there as a favorite and actually name it. Now, obviously, you should still double check it, right? But if you've saved it, you don't have to worry about clicking this, clicking that, because it's there, right? You don't have to go and pull it from anywhere else. Again, you be diligent and always check, right, the contract address. But it's just one of those things that gives you more peace of mind that people need to learn the hard way, right? Because otherwise, when you're younger and your parents are telling you, the finger waving, you'll understand once you're older. It's a lot of the same scenarios, right? It's like you'll understand once you get rugged. Oh, okay, I probably should have verified the contract address. I should have verified before signing this particular thing. I should have consulted with other people when somebody said they'll give me one. I'll send them 1 Bitcoin, they'll send me 2 back, right? It's a lesson that we just have to learn.
Yeah. Yep. No doubt. And so to that point, you bring up MetaMask, and like I'm old school, and I was thinking about switching over to Rabby. I procrastinated doing it, but man, once I did it, praise Jesus, like it was one of the best things. And again, to your point about labeling, even if once you have the token, right, you click on the token up top, you can copy the CA address, right? I mean, use Dex Screener, and get up from there. But all those little things. But
yeah. When you adopt the ethos of like decentralization, you also have to accept the responsibility that comes with it, which means there's no help center, right?
Oh yeah.
You can't call the representative at the Chase branch down the street and said, "Hey man, there's a scam on my credit card. Can you reverse the charge?" There's no customer service for us. And so because you've removed the middleman from the equation, you have to take that responsibility onto you as well, which means you have to double, triple check everything, because there is no customer service to call at the end of the day. It's on you, right? Right. The promise of DeFi, the promise of getting away from centralized entities, also comes with it the great responsibility of you have to be diligent in your security. Otherwise, there's no recourse. Right.
And that's one of those things where I remember Wendy's for Tendies coining and saying, it's good to have friends in crypto, right? Like we lean on each other collectively, and that is the power of groups, whether it's private or public groups, such as, your guys' the Degen Round Table, of being able to, you have a network of people that you've built up a level of trust and that you can bounce things off of and, verify URLs, contract addresses, and that nature. So it pays, and it saves you time too, right? Because being out there out by yourself, it's a time suck. And who's got extra time these days? But when you start moving fast is when the mistakes happen as well, right? So
absolutely.
all these little tips help you navigate when you are trying to move fast, these backstops, these checks and balances of what we're talking about and just briefly mentioning. So,
just this morning, we were on the subject of pump.tires. One of the team members invested in one of the tickers there, right? That it was one of the leading ones, right? I think it probably spent a bit of time at King of the Hill. Maybe it actually hit the bonding curve and got released onto Pulse X. Well, he realized that the asset was a honeypot, right? He couldn't exit out of it. He couldn't pull his liquidity if he was providing. Yeah, he couldn't do any of that. And so as soon as he realized it, he got on the he got on the Telegram like, hey guys, I know a lot of you have been eyeing pump.tires. You might have seen X, Y, and Z coin. Be careful because I can't pull profits. I can't even send the asset from my wallet to a different wallet. Right. So again, to kind of reinforce your statement about having a community that you can rely on, because that was immediately made aware for all of us.
Yeah. No, and that's to your point. Community is huge. Spreading the word, real time. And that's something, again, using a new platform, it has its inherent risks, right? It's not like a DEX screener that actually provides you some intel on the token. It's sniffing, it's pulling data, API info from other sites that have deep dived into protocols, etc. So it's obviously like DEX tools is good, DEX screener is good, but until those other additional bells and whistles, because it is kind of a crude, just kind of a basic, right? This site, so to speak. It is what it is. Maybe just like PulseX, it'll some enhancements once retail starts coming in, we'll follow. But let's just take a peek at this, right? It's very basic. Not a whole lot to it. It is what it is.
I do like the ease of navigation, right? I've gone on to, I've explored Pump Fun. I love the fact that this is a very similar interface where it's like, okay, you can see the things that are on top of the list. You can see which ones are close to reaching the bonding curve. Because if you were going to play, right, the easiest way, to make a little bit of money here, I'm not, talking about life-changing money, but if you wanted to, make 20-30%, you can take a shot at those assets that are close to the bonding curve, because once they hit, they'll pump a little bit, and then inevitably what happens is it's the same exact thing that happens to most the pump fund coins that reach a bonding curve, is that the liquidity is drained immediately because people take profits, because once they know it's on a Radium or it's on a Meteora, in this case it's on a Pulse X, people will start taking a profit. So it's definitely a way to make easy and quick money, but just be careful, because there are going to be a lot of scams here, man. Because this one has been on RH's Twitter does not insulate it from scammers, unfortunately.
Yep. Exactly. But hey, the positives, good volume on PulseX, burning PLS as a validator, tip your validator and we'll send it through real super fast for you. Wink, wink. Yeah. So tip your validators. So pros and cons, you just hope it is what it is, man. It's the market. And RH is not a big fan of memes and NFTs, but it's the market, right? Just like it's the economy, stupid. You got to look and observe. So let's play the game.
To that point, before we step into some TA and charts, you talk about pumped up tires and there being the potentials for pitfalls. We're building a digital nation, a digital city. So if you think about it from the aspect of like a city like Dubai, yes, Dubai may have all the, beautiful things as far as cutting the red tape, allowing you to build business, but that does not mean that there aren't drugs or pickpocketers within the city. You know what I mean? You still have to keep your P's and Q's as far as knowing what you're doing, but they have opened it up, and Pulsechain is an atmosphere of growth. And it's a digital nation that's ready and ripe to go. But there are people in the shadows that will gladly try to take from you. You know what I mean?
Yep. There are people that you don't like. There are people that are bad actors that will inevitably work their way into this space. It's the consequence of mass adoption, right? It's just
Yes.
how it is, and it's how it's always going to be. I like that analogy that you made about Dubai, because one of my team members here, Nate, he's in the chat. He always likes to tell us the story of Pulsechain and how different types of cities are being built on top of it, right? And I like to use the Dubai analogy, because if I were to think of pump tires as a part of the city, it would be the red light district
Yeah.
of Pulsechain, right?
Sure.
You're
Yeah.
going to be able to find some fun in there, but you might get you might get swindled by a ladyboy. I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, completely. I mean, we think about like Oahu, Hawaii, and I always think about, hey, you guys need to find crypto, real estate on the blockchain. And there's no other better place in Hawaii than maybe having oceanfront. But there is a red light district in Hawaii, you guys, and there's probably bad stuff that happens as far as potential crimes.
Yeah.
But you could go to the other side and you could be right there oceanfront, and that's the kind of real estate that you do want to find within the blockchain. It's not that quick, fast little money, and that. But hey, do you? And what I'm just trying to say is there are pitfalls within a beautiful thing that's being built.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And he said, "Lady boy." Yes, he did.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Don't fall for the trap.
Don't fall. Hey, shout out everyone in chat. We appreciate you guys being in here and/or the replay gang. Yeah, man, let's kick off some opportunity to see some alpha and some TA and just some insight, if you don't mind.
Yeah, absolutely. What do you want to start off? You want to do Hex, PulseX, Pulsechain?
Maybe go off with the big granddaddy of them all with Bitcoin first, and then maybe tip into Ethereum if you don't mind, and then we'll trickle in. We'll trickle into the our beloved Pulsechain ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me go ahead and pull up my chart here real quick.
Cool.
And then let me know once you guys actually see it.
All right. There it is. I got it right here. I'm going to add it to the stage. Rock and roll.
Okay, so let me zoom out here to a larger time frame. I usually stay in the lower time frames for the community because they like to know, Jay, what's going to happen next? And so I always tell them, well, if you want me to tell you what could potentially happen next, we have to actually zoom out. And we actually have to zoom in onto the smaller time frames, because that's what's going to tell you what's potentially going to happen next. So I'll keep it very simple here for Bitcoin. It is my personal opinion that because of the move that we made up here, right? Once we took the new all-time highs, the fact that this move to the upside came with a significant amount of volume, right? And it also took out our prior all-time highs, told me that the bulls were once again in firm control of the market. I am a practitioner of the Lucas cycles, which is the 60-day cycles. And up until that point, we were very much entertaining the fact that we could have a left translated cycle, which would mean that for the next 2 months, right, or for the majority of Q1, right, all the way up until March, that we were actually going to look for new prices to the downside for Bitcoin, right, sweeping that $89,000 low that we made here early on in January. But because of this move up, accompanied by a significant amount of volume, right, the bulls basically took control of the market back from the bears. And, when I was doing my analysis on Sunday, I kept things pretty simple for the gang, right? If you take a fib retracement here, taken from your swing low here, that's your $89,000 swing low, to the end of your wave one, the invalidations that I have for the folks are as follows, right? I was telling them, look, if you hit the 886, and the folks that practice Elliott wave, right, will know that once you hit the 886, right, it is usually an invalidation for that particular scenario, right? This is a very powerful fib, whether you're looking for invalidations to the downside or to the upside. If you, for example, in this case, right, if that move on Sunday, right, made its way and actually touched the 886 at $90,940, then I would have certainly flipped bearish long term, right? But because I told them, like, coming close is not good enough. You have to hit the 886, otherwise the bulls still have control of the market, right? We were doing a live analysis on Ethereum during that day as well, and Ethereum did hit its 886, and a few minutes later it took the lows, right? And then some. Like, Ethereum really took the lows and gave everybody a really good buying opportunity, right? Because we had not seen Ethereum at around that $2,100 level since, I believe, post carry trade, right? Sometime in early August, right? When North Korea brought the headline was the Lazarus Group bought a lot of Ethereum at $2,000, right? that was the headline. So we had not seen Ethereum at the low $2,000 since that day, and that just goes to show exactly how powerful that 886 level is, right? So unless the bears, right, can reclaim this level here, then I will maintain my thesis that the bulls are in fair control of the market and that the macro green wave 2 here, right, is in, and that we are heading to everybody's favorite part of the bull market, which is that green wave 3. And in terms of potential prices for your wave 3, right, and this is probably going to be sometime during the latter half, not the latter half, the late part of Q1 to early Q2, I am looking for a price target for Bitcoin at a minimum, the 1.618 extension of $120,342, right? Call it $120,000 flat. Right?
Nice.
If the seasonality of markets were any indication, what you're probably going to expect is, the market has that summer lull, right? The sell in May, go away. We get into a little bit of a lull in the summer months before we start heading back up towards the late parts of the year, sometime in late Q3, early Q4, which is where, people tend to pinpoint the end of the bull market is going to be, right? For those that practice market cycle theory, they think that the bull market is going to end sometime in October or November of this year, right? So within the short term, I think $120,000 for Bitcoin is reasonable to expect based on structure, based on volume. And you're expecting that price to hit sometime probably late Q1, early Q2, right? So late March, early April of this year. So, and unless the bears give me any reason to believe that they've taken control of the market, then I will maintain my bullish long-term thesis, right? And for those of you keeping an eye out on the Federal Reserve, you know that the Federal Reserve has its meeting in March of this year, right? And we're also going to get that summary of economic projections. It's what really sent us down in December, right? People were kind of expecting, hey, where's my Santa rally? But Jerome said, no QE for you. All of the participants says we think inflation might have a resurgence. So we've reduced our rate reduction expectations, and that really kind of dumped us down. I think with the data that we're getting in, both in, the CPI, both in the labor market data, and also all of the bullish news going on with, the White House and the SEC, et cetera, et cetera. I think that SCP is going to be much more bullish in March, which will definitely send us, and we might get something very reminiscent of what people expected or what people experienced, in 2021, that DeFi summer where everything was just up and to the right. If you get that kind of bullish move coming out from the Fed, and they're like, "Yep, we're going to continue QE," it's gonna send us for sure. Certainly beyond $120,000, my personal opinion.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll do for Bitcoin. Did you guys have any questions on Bitcoin?
No. I think it's always good to talk about the old granddaddy of them all. I mean, that's it. Bitcoin obviously is one of the big anchors within the entire blockchain, and so everyone kind of so much of it is bonded and paired. You know what I mean? Even Ethereum, obviously, and we'll see. A lot of people have been talking about. Clearly, Ethereum's been suppressed. I don't think that so said RH made a uncalculated. I think he knows it's going to do what it needs to do. And I think for so many people, the more adoption Ethereum gets, it actually will turn a highlight back onto Pulsechain as far as what solution it provides to the chain. So, yeah.
I mean, I got to tip my hat over to the Bears sometime, right? It's like, well, if you were going to, nickel and dime Richard Hart and say, well, this is the one time where he didn't make an accurate call. I was like, well, okay, you can make a solid argument that what was his entry? Was it $3,500 for Ethereum plus change? Was it somewhere along those lines?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, well, $2,000 Ethereum is definitely better than $3,500 Ethereum. But it's like, come on, man, extend the guy some grace, right? He's gotten most other things right. Like, he'll get some things wrong. Okay. He can't get everything right all the time.
Yeah. And the thing is, I don't even know. I'm not saying he's not wrong, but I guess who knows?
He's practicing time in the market. He's not, he could have traded, he could have made the swing. knowing that obviously was, so, but he didn't. So, he is kind of practicing what he has put out there, right?
Preach. Precisely.
Yeah.
Right. Sticking to his guns. And, you definitely got to respect that for sure.
Yeah.
Since we are on Ethereum, this is one thing that I always try to communicate to people, right? Because a lot of folks, they tend to just focus on the US dollar valuation of assets, right? They always take a look at, well, what's the US dollar value of my Bitcoin? What's the US dollar value of my Ethereum? What's the US dollar value of my Pulsechain, right? My core assets. And those things are relevant, right? Because we care about, making mad gains, like Richard said. But I think in terms of Ethereum in particular, it's more valuable if you actually learn to pay attention to the ETH Bitcoin ratio, because this one is much more telling in terms of what Ethereum is going to do both in the short term and the long term, right? And the unfortunate reality for Ethereum, right? Again, you got to have both a bearish and bullish case, and this is the bearish case for Ethereum. Ethereum, unfortunately, has just gone down into the right for the better half of the last 3 years, right? Right. Its valuation against Bitcoin has been down in the dumps. And just recently, right, during this last move down, it swept the lows again. Right. So Ethereum is still making lows against Bitcoin. That's the unfortunate reality. It's something that we're going to have to admit. The charts say it. The price says it. It's certainly something that you cannot deny. Right. However, the reason why I am bullish on Ethereum, both in the US dollar and both in the ETH Bitcoin valuation, is in terms of timelines. Right. Ethereum tends to find a bottom against Bitcoin, and by proxy, the rest of the altcoin space tends to find a bottom against Bitcoin sometime during December of the halving year to about January, February of the post-halving year, right? And so us hitting a bottom at this point, yes, it was painful for a lot of people, but it's certainly well within the timelines, right? And then if you take a look, a lot of people are, one of their favorite momentum indicators is the RSI. Right. If you take a look at the RSI on the weekly chart, right, what you have on the RSI on the weekly chart is bullish divergence for Ethereum. And in this case, right, it's a lower low in terms of the ratio, but it's a higher low in terms of your momentum indicator, right? In this case, the RSI. And the reason why that is significant is when you see these kinds of bullish, whether bullish or bearish divergence in larger time frames, in this case, we're on the weekly chart, right? It's a really good indicator that momentum is going to shift, in this case, to the upside sooner rather than later, right? The fact that it's showing up on the weekly chart is telling me that Ethereum is at rock bottom in terms of its valuation against Bitcoin, and it now wants to move to the upside. One of our guys, Dace, he's very, he likes to look at the liquidation charts or like the leverage position, right? Where are the majority of market leverage positions sitting? Right. And he's realized, right, after compiling all of this data, that now, as opposed to in 2024 or in 2023, the overwhelming majority of positions, the leverage positions for Ethereum, are now on the long side, right?
Nice.
Like billions of dollars worth of leverage positions long Ethereum, as opposed to in 2023 and in 2024, most of those positions were on the short side, right? So they were bearish Ethereums.
Good point.
And so you're getting some of this confluence, right, in timeline, in momentum, and where the really big degenerate players are sitting in terms of their positions, that they're now longing Ethereum, right? And then obviously we get the bullish tweet from Eric Trump saying it's probably would add to my Ethereum position here, just say it.
Yeah, right. So real quick, didn't they add what? I mean, that was the Trump family adding like 100. How was it? 60,000 ETH or 175 million dollars supposedly, or what's behind that? Do you know?
It was a lot of ETH vests. It was a lot of ETH. So what the Trump Foundation did was they were taking shots at mostly large cap assets, right? I think the smallest cap in terms of market cap, right, asset that they took was Athena. But other than that, it was Bitcoin, it was Ethereum, it was Chainlink was one of them.
Yeah.
And Tron, out of all things, Tron. I was like, the anti-Chinese Communist Party guy invested in Tron. I was like, doesn't make any sense to me.
But
didn't make any sense to me, bro. I was like, Tron is literally the proxy for Chinese money you're not really big on China. Why
But
are
what
you
do we
buying?
always say? Like sometimes, whales aren't always the smartest, make all the best decisions all the time.
Yeah. But you
Yeah.
have to know that it's not like just Trump or his sons making these moves. They have they
It's a whole
obviously,
team of people.
yeah,
like,
they obviously farmed like, hey, we're going to go find out who are the best crypto and DeFi guys that we know of. And I'm not saying they're the smartest DeFi, but you know what I mean? Like they obviously have guys that are just like we know that Richard's not just the only guy looking at the charts. He probably has a team of people helping him. You know what I mean? Analyze things like okay, let's launch Pumped Out Tires right now because things are about to go down and we need to keep things in house. And then it's just the time traveler is making his moves, folks. Okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, like you said, right? Sometimes whales make bad moves too. I mean, I think people still remember what the God whale did when it came to EHEX. So I'm pretty sure that's left a scar on a lot of folks. But yeah, the Trump Foundation made so out of all the things they were buying, I think Bitcoin and probably Ethereum got the lion's share of that. They were doing it in $4.7 million chunks, right? As he's the 47th. So I was like, ha ha ha.
Nice.
I love
yeah. Nice. I like that.
Yep. But definitely the lion's share of the buys belong to Bitcoin and Ethereum for the Trump Foundation. So if they're bullish Ethereum, man, I can't be not bullish Ethereum, especially at this point in the market,
Yeah. 100%, man. I'm with you there.
So any questions on Ethereum?
Hey, so what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on, some people have been, thinking, just like the DBank wallets, right? Like, I'll put my token in there. It's a public, doxed wallet. People can see it. So some people are bridging assets over to ETH and throwing them into the Trump wallet. So, they can be seen, right? I mean, it's kind of like an airdrop, right? You do airdrop. Some people's mindset on that is so the token pops up in their wallet and they see it, right? A form of marketing, so to speak, right? What's your take on that method?
I'm for it, right? Whatever gets you the eyes.
Right.
If because we know people's behaviors, right? We know that I forgot what it was. It was one specific instance, right? Somebody asked SMO Spider is asking about Vitalik in the chat. So this popped into my head because you asked the question, Vets. At one point in time, right? Because Vitalik's wallets are public.
Right.
And this isn't any new behavior for people.
Right.
There was a meme coin that was launched and a bunch of it was sent over to Vitalik's wallet and it sent the price. Because it's eyes, right? People think, people that don't know any better, like, Vitalik has this meme coin in his wallet. Let's buy it, right? And it's the same thing with the Trump stuff, right? People are going to send him meme coins because people who are not as aware of the shenanigans that goes on in the market are going to think, okay, this is a big holder of assets. They're buying X meme coin. I'm going to buy it to front run it. It was the same thing, it was the same thing with Andrew Tate, his, like when he publicized his wallets, people were sending him every single type of meme coin available. It's the same strategy.
Yep.
Right. It's just a marketing strategy, whether it works or not, don't know, but right. Whatever brings the eyes onto Pulsechain, you're not going to get any, fight from me. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
So
Bitcoin's doing this thing. We've been kind of hearing the same thing about Ethereum that, yes, there's been a lot of stuff going on, but the bottom is forming and that there's a lot of people, really jockeying and positioning to get a better buy-in price.
Yeah.
And the big dogs, I think that they have felt like this is it. This is about as good as it's going to get. They're not going to get $700 or $300 Ethereum again, you guys. What did we get down to there in the bear again? Was it $800?
Yeah. Yes, sir. About 880.
880. And that ain't happening.
Was the deal, wasn't it?
That was the deal. So that ain't happening again. And so a couple people caught the wicks, like you said, there at 20, whatever, 100.
21, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so, hey, that was your opportunity. I think, no financial advice, but I think that was it within this cycle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And you,
what three metrics do you like when you're charting? RSI, moving averages.
my primary, so the things that I use on a day-to-day basis, I go Lucas cycles, which is the Bitcoin 60-day cycles. Coincidence that Richard Hart released Pulsechain at the very end of that 60-day cycle, and every single one of the Pulsechain, Hex, Incentive, and PulseX track the Bitcoin 60-day cycles extremely well. So again, this is a bit of speculation on my point, but right, the guy is smart. He doesn't
a lot of times, right? Yeah, connect the dots.
Yep. So Lucas cycles for sure. I'm a very, very big Elliott wave practitioner. You know, that's what the wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, et cetera, et cetera. And I love Fibonacci, right? And I tend to find a lot of confluence between those three things. I use a lot of other indicators. For example, volume is very important, right? I always tell people, it doesn't matter what the price is. If we make a new all-time high, if the volume is pitiful, then more than likely it's not going to be able to sustain that kind of move, right? So I like volume. I like the RSI. I like the MACD. So a lot of the very common things that most technical analysts use on a day-to-day basis, like I like using the volume profile, moving averages, et cetera, et cetera. But the top three that I use like heaviest, Lucas cycles, Elliott wave analysis, Fibonacci, and then the close fourth would probably be volume. Volume would probably be my top four.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at our beloved Pulsechain. You know, I think that, you know, we don't try to discriminate, but we also don't tell people, like when we're talking with Solana people or anyone else from Sui, hey, we'll talk with you. Let's have have the shit show about it. But make no mistake, our flag in the ground is Pulsechain. You know, that is and so I'm always open to hearing what other smart people are doing on other chains and trying to like derive, you know, clever insights and what have you. And I'm trying to change my worldviews, knowing that, hey, just like we were talking about Dubai, hey, just because, you know, your digital nation is Dubai, it does not mean there aren't smart people in New York City.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
You know, just because there's a bunch of smart people over here and there and everywhere, it's good to like know what's going on. But you also know that like Pulsechain is going to have what we believe is an opportunity for extreme amount of growth. And we know the founder, he's in it for glory, you guys. He's in it for glory.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Hey, so question for you, Agent J. Where are you at as far as when it comes to Hex? Is this a period to make a staking ladder or to hold liquid or 50-50? What part of the camp are you in on that?
I think you should have both, right? I have long-term stakes, staked out Quattro Cinco. I have stakes that come out every single year, right? Because I have those rolling ladder stakes. A little bit earlier in 2024, I was doing like very short-term rolling ladder stakes because the gas fees are so cheap on Pulsechain. Why not make more yield that way? But I'm a very big proponent of keeping, you know, you should have your short-term stakes, your medium-term stakes. You should have your long-term Quattro Cinco stakes. You should certainly have some sitting liquid. You know, Zenith, you guys know Zenith. But he made it a point on Saturday saying that, look, you might not be able to make yourself a Hex whale at this point, but to make yourself a T-share whale, right, which is the point of the game in terms of Hex, right, to accumulate
Daily
the most amount of T-shares.
Yeah,
you're still able to do that, right? You could still become a T-share whale, right? Especially now, it's a lot easier now than, you know, even back in the 2022 bear market. It's a lot easier to become a T-share whale now than even it was back then, right? When EHEX was sitting at, you know, I think the bottom for EHEX was like 2.8 cents during that time. So I'm a very big proponent of having long, short-term, so short, medium, and long-term stakes. I also encourage people to have liquid capital, and it doesn't just have to be in Hex. It could be in the other assets as well. And the reason for that is, you know, hearing the stories of somebody like Kareem, who, you know, firm believer in Quattro Cinco, and, you know, he ended up shit's creek without a paddle, and he had to emergency end stake a lot of stuff, and that hurt him. Right, because he wasn't without any liquid capital. So I respect that people are like all in, Quattro Cinco out. But if you don't have a savings account that you could pull out of and access in case of emergency, you need to have some liquid capital, right, no matter what the asset, right? In this case, we're talking about Hex, but you need to have some liquid capital because you don't want to be put in that position of unstaking 15-year stakes, right? Like you don't want to be in that position because again, you lose out on the T shares, and that's the point of the game.
Yeah. And ultimately, you want to be the last person standing, right, to gobble all that up. But it's a beautiful thing. What? How are you these days? Where are you going to make your stakes at? What platform are you using?
Oh, Pulsechain.
As far as like Go.Hex or any of the other platforms.
I got you.
Pulsechain all the way, baby.
I'm very old school like Vets. I like the OG Hex website.
Native.
All right, cool. Yeah.
I've done some stakes on the ICOSA website when the main website was giving everybody issues, but I mean it's okay now, so I go to the main website, man.
Yeah,
the OG website.
OG. Nice. Good. So looks like you got Hex up on the chart right there, right?
Yep.
All right, cool.
Hex is my primary holding. I am not shy about saying that. I think I think it is the Bitcoin of the RH ecosystem. And as I'm about to show you guys, we'll go over some of the ratios as well, that Hex has basically been in a significant uptrend for like the better half of the last 1.5 years or so against all of the other assets, right? Again, just to kind of reinforce that you shouldn't always just look at price to see which dog is ahead of everybody else. In this case, it's Hex. So right now we're taking a look at the weekly chart on the Hex USD pair. Unfortunately for a lot of folks, right, they would have rather seen a parabolic move up sooner. However, Hex has been range bound, right? And again, it's one of those lessons that you have to learn when you're taking a look at the market, because I guarantee you right now, like moves like this that are sharp and steep, it's easy to live with that, right? Because buying opportunity, easy choice to make, right? However, when you're range bound like this, right? These points right here, here we go. These points right here, right here, wick right here, right? Wick right here. When you're range bound like this, these are liquidity grabs, right? These are the games that whales play and that market makers play. Range bound in such a way like this, where you're getting faked out. Maybe it's a new all-time high, maybe it's not, maybe it's a new all-time low, maybe it's not. This is the type of stuff that really hurts people, and it makes people capitulate. So the unfortunate reality is Hex has been range bound. However, on the bright side, Hex has not only made new higher highs, but it has made now new higher lows in terms of structure, right? And structure is very important, especially since I'm an Elliott Wave practitioner,
right?
And what you could consider here is that you have a 1 in, right? You're looking for a 2 to bottom in. Whether it's in yet is yet to be determined, right? Because we had this terrible wick here. I think this was I forgot what event was this for Hex. This one was recent. It was the one that brought us back down to sub penny Hex again. But regardless, right? The question is whether the wave 2 is in or not, or whether you're going to sweep this low at 0.8 of a penny, give or take. Right. But let's assume that the wave 2 is in, and now we're at the fun phase of the market, right? This wave 3, that parabolic move, right? Raoul Powell calls it the banana zone, right? Where every makes life-changing gains, and all of the red candles, all of the red weeks are forgotten, right? And so if we were to take a very simple fib extension from your swing high, from the start to the end of your 1, right? To the end of your 2, right? Then, let me just double check that this is on log. Log, okay. Let me make sure my chart is on log. Nope. Okay, there we go. There we go. That's much prettier. All right. That the next reasonable level, right? The more common extensions when it comes to wave 3, right? The minimum extension for your wave 3 is here at the 1-for-1 fib extension, which puts us at 8.5 cents, right? Not quite the 12-cent high that we had for EHEX back in the middle of 2023, but we're getting there. However, wave 3s tend to, I like to say wave 3s tend to fuck the fibs, right? Especially if it's I like to treat Hex on Pulsechain as a new asset, right? I like to give it its fair shake, which means if I'm treating it as a new asset, new assets tend to fuck the fibs,
Right.
right? When it comes to moves to the
Love it.
upside. And so the minimum extension for Hex is 8.5 cents, right? Based on probabilities. However, the next reasonable target is the 1.618 extension at the 31.9 cent range. Not bad. However, the next reasonable fib is a 2.618. I'm expecting this probably sometime, if things go as we expect it to, probably sometime late Q3, early Q4. 2.7 cent, $2.70 Hex, right? In the bear market, this was not an unreasonable take. Right now, people have been beat down by the bear market. They don't think it's possible. But if you're going to treat Hex as a new asset on Pulsechain, then this is possible, right? 2.7 cents, not combined PHEX EX price, just as a standalone. This is certainly possible, right? So we will cross that bridge when we get there. But right now, my minimum targets are between the 8.5 to the 31 cent range, probably sometime late Q1, early Q2, right? Again, if things really start moving in the altcoin space, right, we have to caveat that because that position, because I don't want to give people false hopium, right? If the Federal Reserve says no QE and the money printer doesn't turn on, it's highly unlikely that any of the altcoin space are going to make those kinds of parabolic moves. All right. So I like to caveat that statement with the bearish side.
Appreciate that. Yeah.
Of course. And then as a reflection of what I was talking about earlier, right? Looking at the valuation against the asset pairs instead of just the US dollar valuation, here's what I want to show you guys when it comes to Hex against Pulsechain, right? Hex has been in an uptrend against Pulsechain for right now for almost an entire year, an entire calendar year.
Dang.
Right?
It was a nice turnaround. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Made a high here, small correction there. And then now it's made a new all-time high against Hex here in late 2024. Against Pulsechain. And now another new all-time high against Pulsechain in middle of November of 2024.
So it's still in that upward channel.
Correct. Right. The strength of Pulsechain, the strength of Hex against Pulsechain is definitely the most convincing, right? It is also on an uptrend against PulseX and Incentive, but it has not made a new all-time high yet against those two assets, right? But it has made a new all-time high against Pulsechain, right? And it's like you said, Vets, it's stayed within and it's respected this channel.
Yeah.
Would you mind touching? Go ahead.
Just for the kids at home, would you mind touching on the importance of, looking at things between price and, wrap pulse, the difference and
Great
the
point.
benefit of ratio?
Yeah. So people only tend to care about price, which is fine, right? But price doesn't tell you the full story. In the same way that I showed you the ETH Bitcoin valuation, for a lot of people who just pay attention to the US dollar, they're like, wow, Ethereum went back down to $2,000. Ethereum is dead, right? Vitalik's not going to do anything. Like all he cares about is his Asian girlfriend, and that's it, right? Nothing else. He doesn't care about developing anything else of value on Ethereum.
He's done. He's out.
Yeah.
But then when you look at the ETH Bitcoin valuation, and you take a look at in terms of timeline, you take a look at who's buying it, right? You got ETFs for Ethereum, right? You got the Trump Foundation buying it, and then you see that bullish divergence in the weekly chart, right? That gives you a lot more confidence. So being able to look at asset pairs and not just assets against their US dollar valuation, it gives you a more holistic story, right? It gives you a more complete story. And in this case, right, it also told me, and a bunch of the other teams are pretty much Hex maxis. They hold Pulsechain and PulseX and maybe some Incentive. But for a lot of the team, our predominant holdings are in Hex. And it's because we see this ratio. We see the strength of Hex against the other core assets, especially when you put it against Pulsechain. It's up and to the right against Pulsechain, making you all-time highs, right? And so that's why it's important to take a look at the ratios, right? The valuations in ratios and not just the valuation in US dollars, because if you're just looking at the Hex US dollar valuation, you might be a bit depressed. But if you're looking at the trajectory of Hex against Pulsechain, well, you're like, well, you're pretty happy that you're majority Hex right now. Right. Yeah. So that's definitely one thing that I try to harp on people about, because it gives them less anxiety, because they have another litmus test instead of just the price, right? And crypto can be very anxiety provoking, so I try to give people as less anxiety provoking moments as possible.
For sure.
You know, right? So, like, my approach is always try to be holistic, right? Attack things from multiple angles and not just analyze things from one avenue. So
agreed.
Do you guys want to take a look at Hex versus Pulsechain, PulseX and Incentive?
Yeah. No, I think so much like we talked about earlier that, you know, people think about incentive token or Inc. as like this dump token only, which in some regards, I get it. You're incentivized to provide liquidity, and he hasn't even, I believe, opened up PulseX to be the full host of, you know, I think there's a lot of bells and whistles that are being withheld. That point being is, in order to attract people to come to the chain, I believe that the Inc. price needs to go up in price. So however that happens, I'm not going to say who's going to do it or whatever, but I do believe that that is a big carrot in order to get big players from other chains to come over into our sandbox and do their thing. And so it's an important structure to take a look at. I know that there's said players like the Firewell, who has like the largest holding of incentive rewards as an individual. And so much of, you know, whether you like it or not, maybe some of his Solid X price might go up because Inc. price might go up. You know, if he's, you know, whatever. Now, he's bonded. Yeah. Now, I don't think anybody in that ecosystem of Solid X should be necessarily beholden to just one individual, just as much as we shouldn't be beholden to even just Richard Hart. You need to get out and build and provide value, like you talked about with Dollar Cross Crypto and them saying, hey, once you have your sea legs, it's time for you to go and walk and crawl, and crawl first and start walking and running next, you know? And this
nobody else going to pump your bags, right? Like,
yeah. So yes, Inc. is I believe a very interesting cogwheel within the entire ecosystem that's it's needed to be taken a look at. Yeah.
And do we look at like Cake? Obviously, it's a playoff of BNB Cake, right?
Right.
Yep.
Completely.
Yep. Pancake swap. Yep. Play on that.
Pancake. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So here I have pulled up the Hex and PulseX pair. And like I mentioned earlier, in the same vein as Pulsechain, right? If you take a look at from the start of this trend to where we currently are at now, right? Hex has been in an uptrend against PulseX for relatively the same amount of time, right? Almost a full calendar year. And what you like is that you're maintaining this very bullish structure, right? Where you have a high here, right? And then you also have a higher high here, and you have, more importantly, right, you also have higher lows, right? So Hex valued against PulseX is showing a lot of the very similar characteristics that the Hex Pulsechain chart was showing, right? And that is the higher low structure and higher high structure, which is what you like to see during a strong bullish trend, right? And unless the Hex holders give me any reason to think that we're going to flip bearish, right? We can pull the exact same fibs, right? We can pull the exact same fibs unless this 886 level is hit at around 240 PulseX per Hex, then I don't have any reason to be concerned, right? And this structure is one, again, it's not just isolated to Pulsechain, but you could see it here on PulseX. And if we go to the Hex versus incentive chart, you're going to get a lot of the same thing, right? Against incentive, let me go to the daily chart here. Against incentive, Hex has been in an uptrend. Let's see the timelines. Right. Hex has been in an uptrend for, again, it's very similar timelines, right? 317 days. It's been in an uptrend against incentive. Hex has, right? So when you take a look at the we call this the Hex dominance thesis, right? The same way that Bitcoin dominates as the king of the entire crypto space, those of us who believe this thesis, again, because of the structure, because of how Hex has performed against the other core assets, we believe that at least for this 4-year cycle, that Hex is going to remain dominant against Pulsechain, against Incentive, and against PulseX, right? And that if you were so inclined to just ape everything into Hex and nowhere else, right, that you're not going to do too bad. Because like Bitcoin, if you hold the king, in this case, you're holding Hex, Hex is the king, then you're going to be able to ride that appreciation all the way up to the upside, not just in US dollars, but in terms of the ratios, right? Meaning that Hex will be the most powerful in terms of valuation against the other core assets, right? So,
shit. Yep.
Right.
I like it. I like it. It's bullish.
Yeah.
Everything's going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's going to work out.
But, if I was to make an argument for Incentive and PulseX, I know, some of our community, some of them are PulseX maxis, some of them are Incentive maxis. Look, I always tell them, this is my personal thesis. You don't have to agree with it. I'm just telling you what I see on the chart, and you're welcome to disagree or not, or agree, right? Yep. I always try to steel man the other side. And for the Incentive maxis and the PulseX maxis, I can tell you guys that out of the core 4, those 2 assets are the ones that maintain their most bullish structure, which means they did not sweep their lows, right? Hex and Pulsechain, unfortunately, made new lows, but Incentive and PulseX did not. So that bullish structure is extremely intact, right? So you can make the argument that if we're just looking at US dollar terms, then PulseX and Incentive have the highest probabilities of making massive X's, right? Because they didn't sweep their lows.
Yeah, and I think it's an interesting play with this, pumped out tires. This 5D chess play, I kind of wonder, like you said, this could be like the greatest, like, look what the left hand did, and then all of a sudden the right hand comes over and says, core tokens, later. Mm-hmm. See ya. Yep. See ya.
Wouldn't want to be ya.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's going to be exciting, man. All the things.
I agree.
Have you bought into where are you at with the whole PDI narrative? Are you on the PTGC UFO train? What on the other side, this is an L1, so there's multiple tokens and protocols out there.
So I am very conservative when it comes to investments. I've taken some shots at meme coins. Nice. Like I was very early into Pepe, so golf clap to me. But I am a firm believer in holding the core assets, and that's it. If I'm going to risk my portfolio, it's less than 1% on memes, right? Or those really highly risky plays. In terms of the communities of PDI and PTGC, I like all the marketing, right? If those
bring that attention, the whales, right? Like, come on over.
Attention. If they were able to capture the zeitgeist of people over at Solana, people over at Base, which is the biggest meme communities, right? Let's make no bones about that. I am happy to bring those eyes over and show the people from those communities that we do have a better product, right?
Yeah.
And so I like that the Tangang exists. I like that, that the PDI people exist. I like that the Pulsechain exists. I like that the UFO people exist, right?
Yep.
I would rather have not the infighting because we're already the black sheep of the space anyway. I would really wish for the infighting to stop.
Exactly.
Right? Because we used to stand in solidarity, and then somehow people forgot that along the way. But other than that one gripe, like if we could stop the infighting, and once again be in solidarity, I welcome all of the communities, right? Because one of them will be able to capture attention.
And it's been a brutal bear market, right? Like it's been horrible, getting stepped on by everybody in the SEC. Like it hasn't helped, right? And emotions run high. We're a passionate bunch, passionate community here because we love and we believe in RH and the system and what we have going here. So when that infighting is when it's the same money during a 3-year bear market sloshing around. Everyone's trying to vie for everybody's attention and money, So, and to your point, stick with your blues, be conservative. And it just depends. Some people, they continue to bring in dry powder and want to speculate a little, so be it. Or keep adding to those bags, buy on red. People got to reverse the psychology of the thinking that when something like these dips, like the other day when whole market was bleeding, fuck, it's on sale, bro. Like, if you have strong conviction, that means buy on red, not on fucking green dildos, like just
go.
have to flip the script, Jesus.
And that's what I do. Even the plays that I, the 1% plays that I make on meme coins, like I mentioned earlier, it's always rotated back into the core assets. Always rotated back into the core assets, right? That's not an injunction on those communities, right? That's not me saying that their plays are bad. I'm just saying that I have my priorities straight. If I'm gonna make money over, money over the UFO coin, well, I'm gonna rotate that back into Hex because that's what I want more of, right? So,
and you do you. It's your money.
Exactly.
Don't paying your bills, man. Like, do your thing. Exactly. Yeah. And people need to get that through their heads and stop telling other people what to do with their damn money. Like, that's some bullshit.
Yeah.
But anyways,
I do think that we're all kind of there's a like-minded individuals here of the ethos with you guys in the Degen Round Table who are trying to collectively bring the community back into that like core like let's work together. And I do believe that we will get past a lot of this infighting. I know that sometimes when we're doing what we're doing and we're just building, I don't always necessarily see the infighting because I'm just busy. But I do recognize it's there and it does suck. And I just encourage people to know that you guys have conviction in this blockchain for a reason. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I always I feel you on that note, but X is a really great place for crypto news, right? It's a lot of people that I respect when it comes to fundamental or technical analysis. They make a lot of posts there. And so because you're an X, you're going to be exposed to the nonsense of crypto Twitter. I always tell people crypto Twitter or Twitter in general is where civil discourse goes to die, right? So I extract myself from that stuff as much as possible. And then we keep the community pretty tight and clean, right? It's like believe me, there are PDI maxis in our group. There are UFO maxis in our group. There are Tang Gang people in our group. And there are certain times when they'll start butting heads with each other. And thank God that we have a team of 10 and we're able to kind of step in and they're like, guys, look, you can have discourse here on Degen Round Table, but we will not tolerate personal attacks against each other. You're going to attack the ideas. You're not going to make personal attacks against the person because you can go to crypto Twitter for that. It's something that we don't tolerate in our community.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. And yeah. If you want noise, go to Twitter, right? You want solid alpha, just content, and there's nothing wrong with discourse. And I think that's maybe as a leader, you need, you guys show and demonstrate that we can discuss and have disagreements. Maybe come to a solution or, we agree to disagree. So fucking be it. That's life. And move on, but to Psycho's point here, that's kind of one thing, as far as just touching on fee-based tokens, it doesn't matter if you buy or sell, baby. Go ahead and sell, and that's a great concept. Take some profit.
Because Pulsechain price, Pulsex price goes up. Right, that buy and burn doesn't stop.
It's all the things. It's in this ecosystem. People get so wrapped around the wheel about this and that and liquidity pairing and blah, blah, blah. Dude, as long as it's not bridging that back out to the other side, the ETH, and it's staying in the system, it's still in the system doing its thing, moving around. Those bots are little bastards, but they do their thing and they're kind of beautiful once you get to know them and learn them and how to manipulate them a little bit. But it's pretty cool.
And I just want to give a shout out here, KRJ. KRJ's on the back end team. He's helped us with so much stuff as far as websites. He's building like a video game for King and Queen Bluey. Yeah. He's just doing so much stuff. He, if you guys don't know, he's helped us out with trade.kingpui.com, and he does TA and charts on Saturday. And what he's suggesting here is he would love to collaborate with you. Yeah, and that'd be pretty awesome. Have some just like some TA and some charts and bring alpha to the community. it's good to, iron sharpens iron, right?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely. And I'm very fortunate to have a team of people that also have really adept, and a community of really adept technical analysis. We do a lot of stuff live, right? So
Yeah.
I will definitely take KRJ on that offer. I am very focused on the things that I like to do. And like I mentioned earlier, there are people in the community that do technical analysis and they use completely different metrics.
right.
Yeah.
And then we come
That's
together, we're
okay.
bringing our data together, and they're like, all right, where does
Yeah.
our data align?
Yeah.
And if a bunch of us are using different indicators and performing different analysis, and we're coming to the same exact conclusions, we're like, that's powerful. That's
Yeah.
powerful. So
Yeah.
I am certainly open to collaborating with KRJ as well. I love doing live TA with people.
Yep.
Awesome,
Yep.
man.
And I just wanted to highlight. So this is like examples of some of KRJ's back end work. So he's like a jack of all trades. He's messing around like with augmented reality, 3D. Just if you just check him out just to see his work, he does a lot. So we thank you. We're very appreciative for everything you do on the back end for the kingdom in general.
Yeah, he's going to be helping us bring some AI to the stream and doing some different things. So it's pretty cool. And if you guys don't know, look into your AI agents, and I'm sure you're familiar with it. But it's basically AI agents become like your assistant that helps you do things throughout your day to make your life a little bit more efficient. And hey, I know we're living in a weird time with Terminator type, lifestyle that could happen, but like these are tools in the toolbox, you guys. And until they don't exist, or whatever, if we live in some weird dystopian, whatever, I know it's weird, but man, I use AI every day and it sure helps me. Like just creating this YouTube description down below, I'm putting in bullet points about you and everything like that, and I say spice it up and do this and that, and then perfect, off we go. It just saved me, potentially 15 to 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I love it.
Get your time back, right?
Get your time back. You know what I mean? So
sure.
I guess with that being said, you got any like closing remarks for the next minute? Because I don't think this is our last rodeo over here by any means. I think that we'll do this again, and I appreciate you coming on, man.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's certainly been a pleasure. I want to extend my thanks to you and to Vets for having me on. And certainly I'll certainly take you up on that offer, take up KRJ on his offer, and do some live TA with you guys in the near future. But yeah, thanks for having me. It was a fun show.
Yeah, and shout out to the Degen Round Table and all you guys that you guys are doing. I love the value that you guys bring as far as even implementing cooking here recently. I love the book show, and just kind of showing. I think it's important to show the community about being well-rounded. I mean, shoot, I was about to. I kid you not. I have a guy by the name of JonboyCrypto on my cell phone, where I have his phone. And I was about to call him and say, "Hey, let's bring back the fitness challenge, buddy. It's time for you to it's time to reintroduce you back into the community, and it doesn't need to be crypto. It's because I've been kind of going hard, not every day. I give myself a day rest, but I've been getting back into this workout regimen, and it's like that's the cornerstone for so much of my life. Yeah. Discipline,
health as well, baby, right?
Yeah. So it's like I love that you guys do that over the Degen Round Table. Let's continue to make Pulsechain great. I love it.
Yeah. Because if you can buy your time back, but your body can't take and move you forward, kind of defeats the purpose, isn't it?
It sure do. Hey, with that being said, I'll leave you guys with this. We'll leave you with the open mic shit show that we're having tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, you guys. Next week, I know that we have Banana Prairie coming on Tuesday, and I believe I'm reeling in Shill Gates and Whitney Magic and SJ to come on Wednesday and kind of just do our thing. I think they're going to become more of a staple within the show. So good stuff. We got open mic tomorrow at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Agent J, thanks for coming on, man.
Thank you, fellas. Pleasure.
And Vets, as always.
Yeah, bang, bang.
Bang, bang. Appreciate it. All right, you guys. Thank you, everyone watching live or on the replay, gang. You guys have a great day. Take care.
Pulse, pumping, 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 balls pumping, pumping, balls pumping, balls. We about to get balls pumping.